On today's podcast, I overused this sound effect. Not really, but it made a point. I am in my new office in Montana. First podcast in this office, and I'm so stoked because I'm a Montana resident, but I talk about traffic, the traffic tripod. This is an amazing concept, but it talks about owned traffic, earned traffic, and paid traffic, how to leverage them together, the relationship, and I even give you examples. And I feel like I talked really fast, but you'll get it. You might have to listen to this one on half speed, but I'm going to tell you right now, you understanding the relationship between these three traffic sources will absolutely transform your business and set you up with the cheat codes that you need to win in this game. So without further ado, let's cue the intro and let's get into the podcast. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. It's time for another podcast because it's podcast time. I don't know. I forgot the song from Cool Runnings, but this is officially the first podcast that I am recording from my new office in Montana. So let's hear it up. Oh, and it's an amazing episode today because today we're going to talk about where to meet your audience when it comes to traffic. Now, today is a fun topic for me. It's one of my favorite topics around traffic. And so I have notes on my iPad. So if you're watching this video and you're not just listening to the audio, I'm going to be reading some notes that I have because this topic is traditionally one that I watch people struggle with just because of the lack of awareness around it. And so we're going to be talking about traffic. And we're going to be talking about, we call traffic like media, right? But there's earned traffic, owned traffic, and paid traffic. And through the years of doing this, all the companies I've worked with, all the people, the coaches, the consultants, the service-based providers, the CPG companies, the physical products, the digital products, that it doesn't matter. I've learned one thing. And when it comes to traffic, having a single source of traffic is a horrible, horrible, horrible idea. And so if there's any photographers listening to this, or if you've ever done photography, there's like three things that go into taking a photo, right? When you're using a DSLR camera, right? You have ISO, you have shutter speed, and you have aperture. And normally, to keep the picture looking the same, but to change the look and feel, you have to change two of them at the same time. They work together. If you change one, it changes what the photo looks like. Okay. And so I always like to think about traffic the same way. And so what'll happen is you have this picture of your business. And in this picture of your business, we tend to watch people make an adjustment to one and then go all in on that one. But then it actually changes the business because not everything was done. And so I like to think about traffic as all three sources of traffic having a relationship. And if you just focus on one, it throws the relationship out of whack. And you always want to be focusing on at least two or having two. And so when we think about traffic, we have earned traffic, owned traffic, and paid traffic. And these words are talked around and tossed around all the time. And I'm going to explain what they are. I have some notes, super high level on these things. Because in my opinion, understanding the types of traffic is really what you need to win. It's just understanding them because none of us are going to ever be experts at all of them. When you think about like owned traffic, you could own 100 things. When you think about paid traffic, there are more ad platforms than I could name off the top of my head. There are more ways to do it than I could name off the top of my head. And when I think about earned traffic, it is the same thing. But what's really important is that we never isolate ourselves to only thinking about one. And so I'm going to be talking about that. And so first, quick story time, and not like a crazy, crazy story time, but I'm in my office in Montana. We've been in Montana, I think, for about 2 months now, and I absolutely am loving it. I'm never leaving. Apparently, I felt like yawning in that moment, but I'm never leaving. I'm absolutely in love with it. I have an office now, like an official office, like I'm a big boy. I feel like I graduated. I have this beautiful office that I'm seeing. So if you see me on video and you see there's photos on the ground and the wall's empty, it's because I'm still figuring out how I'm going to decorate. I'm laying out desk stuff, but now I have consistent Wi-Fi. And so I am in Montana. I am officially in Montana. I have an office in Montana. I have Wi-Fi in Montana. My family's in Montana. And we are even doing a public event in Montana, which, by the way, if you have not seen yet and you have not bought your ticket, it is at the end of April in Whitefish, Montana. And all the links, or the one link and all the information is on our homepage. It's on www.mindofgeorge.com. And so go there, get your ticket. We are limiting the ticket to 100, and we've only been announcing it for like 4 days now, and I think we're already 20% or 25% sold out without even emailing our list or anything. So if you're hearing this, you kind of have a fast start, so go grab yours in case you want to come. And all the information's there. So it's at Mind of George. So I just wanted to share that I was in Montana. I feel like the last couple of podcasts that I've done may not have been up to my A game because I was literally in a conference room or renting an office or trying to record in an Airbnb without consistency. And I kind of felt really, really, really unsettled. And I've realized that for me, I'm not one of those coffee shop entrepreneurs. Like, I can't go work at a Starbucks or work at a coffee shop on my laptop. Like, I kind of need my space. And I need like consistency. I need my desk. I need things set up. I need my podcast set up the same. And I can definitely work without it, but I feel like in my element and in my superpower when I'm in that container. And so I'm just really excited to be right here, right now. And I'm really grateful for you listening. We've done like over 150 episodes in the last year. We just hit a milestone with downloads. It makes my heart happy. And there's so many of you. And we have some changes coming to the podcast as well. But we're going to be asking for your input and feedback. I'm doing an entire episode on us tailoring the future of the podcast based on your needs and your wants. And so I want you to keep your earballs open and get ready for that. So now let's think about traffic. Now, you've probably heard the terms, right? The term media and traffic is interchangeable when we think about this game, right? So earned media, paid media, owned media, or earned traffic, paid traffic, owned traffic. And so I like to think of them as a tripod. All of them are there, and they are super, super important for what you have in your business. I believe that businesses can operate with just a bipod or two legs, but it's better to have a tripod or understand the entire tripod to really, really be effective. Okay. So when I think about it, I'm going to rattle off kind of what some of it is. So I'm going to start with owned media. So what is owned media? Owned media is the thing that you genuinely own. Like, you're not leasing it, you're not renting it, you own it. Your website would be something that you own, right? So if you're on a WordPress website, you're basically using their platform. It's open source. You own that website, right? When you think about your blog, when you think about your social media channels, they're yours. Now, one caveat to that is like, we don't own Facebook, we don't own Instagram, right? We kind of lease them. There are profiles, but we don't really own them. If Instagram went down or Facebook went down or closed, we wouldn't own it anymore. But our website, you own. I also consider your email list something that you own. I consider your podcast something that you own. But owned media is generally your web properties or properties that you own. Then you have earned media. And earned media is media or traffic that you earn. Well, how do you earn media? Well, you earn it through sharing, mentions, reposting. So if you post something on your Instagram and somebody shares it, well, that person who shared it, that's earned media because you're getting the attention of their audience because they shared your content, right? And so reposts, reviews, influencers, affiliates, people sharing, doing giveaways and shout outs and things like that, those are earned media. Right? So that's where you're basically leveraging somebody else's relationship with their audience, and then they're leveraging that relationship to bring attention to you, right? And so they post your image, or you go do a live on their page, or you give them a piece of content to share with their audience, and they share it, and they're sending them back to you, or they're mentioning you, or they're driving back to you. That's earned media. And then you have paid media. And paid media is advertising, right? You have pay-per-click ads, you have Google ads, you have retargeting, Facebook, Pinterest, you have paid influencers, you have paid content promotion, you have podcast ads and social media ads and all of it. Anything that you spend money on to reach people is paid media. And so the three legs of this tripod are owned media, earned media, and paid media. So owned media is that destination. I like to think of it as the home, right? It's something that you own that you're sending people back to. And so when you think about it, your owned media exists, right? These are your properties. So your website, your Instagram, your podcast, your Facebook, your email list, you own those. And then you will produce a piece of content or something of value or a sale or something, and you will send it out on all of those properties that you own, right? That's what you're doing. Then, now that you own those, you have two ways to get more people into those properties that you own. And that's earned media and that's paid media. And so earned media is you're going out because you're creating things of value or you have existing relationships and people are sharing your stuff because you're creating quality content. They're sharing your product because they're actually getting results with your product, whether it's a service or a physical product. And in sharing, they are basically advertising your owned media for free. They're saying this person has helped me so much with their content or with their product or with my results or with my life. I'm going to utilize my platform, my influence and my reach to bring awareness to what it is that they've done for me and then send these people back to me. Then you have paid media. And paid media, you can then take your owned property, right? Like your owned content, your own product, your own lead magnets, your own whatever it is that you create, and then you can invest money to help amplify your properties. So to take what it is that you've done and then go buy eyeballs in other places to introduce those eyeballs into your property to then bring them back. And so one of the analogies that I use is like real estate, right? So you have a house that you own and you want to sell that house, right? Or you have a big apartment building that you own and you want to rent an apartment in there. You own that apartment, right? And so you own it. You can decorate it. You can make it pretty. And anybody who drives by it, who naturally finds it or sees it, or anybody who already lives nearby is going to see it. That's your owned media, right? But then when it's time to sell it, you might have a network of real estate friends that you'll give a commission to, or just real estate friends or friends in general, your friends and family, like, oh my God, you got to look at my daughter's house. It's amazing. You got to check out what my son did. I'm so proud of it. And these people that you love want to be a part of your life or want to support you. And so they go and advertise your home for you. That's earned media, right? Because they're basically for free giving you access to their audience and the attention of their audience to let that audience know that they should come look at your house for sale because it's so amazing. Well, the paid media side is then when you take that house and you advertise it, and then you have to get eyeballs that you don't have access to. So you pay for radio advertisements, you pay for Zillow advertisements, you pay for billboards, you put mailers in the mail, and then you're paying to be placed in front of eyeballs that will get their attention, that will show them how amazing your property is, and then bring them back to you. And then one other part of this is that paid media can also be leveraged to amplify earned media. And so this is kind of like the inception game, right? And so you have this house that's for sale and you're selling the house. You've renovated the house. It's beautiful. It's like a Joanna Gaines house off Fixer Upper. I love those houses, right? And you're advertising it, you're advertising it, and you're advertising it. And when you advertise your houses, they attract a certain type of audience, right? They're attracted to maybe you, your style, or anything along those lines. So you can pay a certain amount of money and you'll get those people. But then there's also this other audience that exists that doesn't resonate with your message, but would love your house, that doesn't appreciate maybe your messaging or how you advertise it, but would love the house. But what they do resonate is with the earned media. They resonate with your mom or your dad or your friend that promoted the house for free. And so one of the things that you can also do is you can leverage paid media to amplify the earned media to then drive those people back to your property. And so that's why it's called a tripod. And so I'm trying to give as many stories as possible because like I think about this and I live in this world, and it's all the ways that I use as metaphors and stories to help people understand this. And so when I say this, I'm saying this because it's really imperative that we understand that you can't just have paid media. Because if you have paid media, you're basically just running advertisements in magazines and in mailers, but there's nowhere for people to go. So what you're really doing is saying, I'm spending all of this money to get 100 people's attention, knowing that maybe one will buy, but then the other 99 just disappear and I wasted all that money. Like, you have to have somewhere to send them. Same thing with earned media. You can't just go out and do shout outs and things like that for free if people don't have somewhere to go. Like, your job is to own your property. And I don't care if you're a physical product, a service-based product, an influencer, a fitness person, a chiropractor, a plastic surgeon, you sell supplements, dog treats, or consultations, and an agency. The biggest thing here is that people know that you have a home, and that's where your owned media comes in. And then you have to be very strategic and very intentional about how you introduce that home to people. So the first thing that I always recommend is that you own your stuff, right? You might own your website, and maybe you don't want social media. Maybe social media isn't supportive of you, but you still have to have a place to send people. So maybe that's your website or a contact form, right? Because somebody, when they promote you with earned media or you pay for attention, has to have somewhere to go to develop that relationship, to come to your open house per se, right? But if you just had earned media, well, then these people would be shouting out something, but they wouldn't be able to come into your ecosystem or come into your world, right? And so the way that I like to think about businesses is the Truman Show. So if you've ever watched the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey is living this like perfect life, right? Everything's great. He's got a job. He's got this, white picket fence. He actually has a white picket fence, and everything is amazing. Everything is amazing. And in the movie, he basically realizes he's living in like a simulation world, and they're designing it to be perfect, but they're controlling the entire environment. And so when I think about you, when I think about your business and understanding traffic or media, earned media, paid media, and owned media, what you really want to do is be building the Truman Show. You want to be building this home that no matter what and no matter where somebody finds you or sees you, that they enter into this home. And the relationship between your owned media, earned media, and paid media either brings people into this world or keeps them in this world until they are ready to make a buying decision, or they never buy, but they promote you via earned media, or some other instance happens where they just collect touch points to move closer and closer and closer to your world, right? It's a really, really tight container. And so I think that they are all required, and they are at least required to have attention done. So for example, required to have attention with or an understanding with is when I ran Civilized Caveman, I made it to multiple seven figures and I never did paid media. But I knew paid media existed. I just wasn't really playing in that game. But what I did is I had owned media and earned media, and I leveraged all of it. So at any moment, I could have invested in paid media and amplified either of those, right? But now where I am, I have all of them. We have the podcast, we have the website, we have courses, we have our own social media. So we have our owned media, right? And then I have people that share these podcasts, that share the memes that we put up on social. And then we spend money on paid media amplifying those messages, bringing everybody back into our ecosystem. And when we bring them back, we normally either bring them back into our Facebook group, my website for our email list, or this podcast, or we'll bring them into a program or a webinar or a call or something along those lines. But all of them work together, and they're very, very intentional. And here's what I will say. There's nothing in this tripod called accidental media. I'm going to say that again. There's nothing in this tripod called accidental media, right? All of this is measurable. All of this is intentional. All of this has a plan and can be utilized to support you, but none of it is accidental. Like, nobody accidentally gets picked up in a BuzzFeed article that launches this $1 million business, and nobody accidentally gets their content shared, and no one out there in the earned media world creates a meme or a piece of content for you, posts it, and then says it's yours and gives you credit. None of it's accidental. It's all very, very, very intentional, right? And so I'm going to summarize this again because I think it's important. And I grabbed this from a website called Titan Growth. I want to give them credit because they summarize this really, really well. But they said earned media is a publicity or exposure gained from methods other than paid advertising. Owned media is any web property that you can control and is unique to your brand. And paid media is media or marketing that you pay for, primarily used to promote content in order to drive earned media as well as direct traffic to owned media. And so all of these elements are really, really important when it comes to a quote unquote digital marketing strategy. It's also really important when it comes to a physical marketing strategy, because if you have a brick and mortar business, these things also apply, right? You have your owned media, which would be your building, right? Somebody comes through your door, you're a chiropractor, you have a gift shop, you have a gallery, you have whatever it is that you have. You have earned media when people leave and they use word of mouth referrals, right? You have people that you're doing case studies and testimonials with, and then you have paid media that's amplifying those or running billboards or advertising in the store. But this applies no matter what. And this has been going on for years. When people were paying for direct mailers or magazine placements, that was actually paid media positioning to drive them back to either call your phone number or set up an appointment or come into your office. And then when people were in your office and you were giving out flyers or brochures or business cards, you were handing those out to people in hopes that they would hand them to other people to capitalize on that earned media that would then drive them back into your store or into your shop to get their tires changed or into your, mechanic shop to get your oil changed. It applies across the board. And so what you want to be thinking about in your business is your strategy of what it is that I own, right? You might only own a podcast, or you might only own a contact form, or you might only own a website, which is actually great because now you know that when you leverage earned media or you leverage paid media, where people are going, right? And so let's say you have a website and you have Instagram. Well, now it's really, really simple because your job is to figure out if I'm going to use earned media, right? Like if I'm creating content on Instagram and people are going to be sharing it, where do I want them to come back to? Well, naturally, they're going to come back to Instagram. But then you ask yourself, well, once they get Instagram, then what? Well, that's where the link in your bio comes in. Where do you want them to go? Oh, I want them to go to my website. And so no matter what, you're using that earned media to drive them back into your owned properties. And so then you have the same conversation. Well, now I know I have my website and my Instagram. And my content there is good. People are engaging. And if more people saw that content, they'd convert. If more people saw it, they'd come to my website. They'd come to my clinic. They'd buy my product. They'd buy my service. So then you intentionally decide, okay, I'm going to go spend X amount of dollars on this audience to bring awareness or attention to my owned media. Where am I going to send them? And you're like, oh, well, you know what? I realized that people on Instagram really respond well. So I'm going to run an Instagram ad to this piece of content on Instagram, and then I'm just going to have them comment and I'll DM them. Or I know that people that have seen my content on Instagram convert really well. So I'm going to spend some money to run ads to anybody who's engaged on my Instagram or somebody else's Instagram, and I'm going to drive them back to this page on my website. But what you'll realize is there's no accidental media in any of this. Every single thing that you do can actually be measurable. It's a part of a strategy. It's a part of knowing where to spend your time and your money and your energy to capitalize and get that attention and bring them into your world. And one of the mistakes that I see more often than not is people will try to go get attention without somewhere to bring them. They'll go run ads before they have owned media to bring it to, or they'll go try to get 100 shout outs, but not know what to ask for or where to send people, so it all falls on deaf ears. Or they'll spend all their time building their owned media, but never disseminating it so people can't find it, and then there's nothing to be done. And so when you think about your audience and how to build your audience or where to meet your audience, it's always going to fall into one of these buckets. It's either owned media, earned media, or paid media. And so what I would highly recommend is if you want to see a visual of this, and like I said, I have to give this company kudos. I've never met them. I don't know who runs this, but there's this website called Titan Growth. And if you Google Titan Growth, earned media, owned media, paid media, it'll pop up, and it has this really beautiful diagram that they made that I just have to give them credit for, because it's one of the best breakdowns that I've ever seen of this tripod when it comes to your marketing. And so when you think about it, you now know that you have earned media, owned media, and paid media. And your job is to figure out a strategy for you and your business to where you know what it is that you own. Like only you know how you can get a customer or how you can serve your customer. And so whatever that is, whether it's getting on a phone call with you or coming to your website or coming into your office, you know that that's something you own. And ultimately your job is to get as many people as you can serve in that door. So once you know that you own it, well, then you find out and you design the best strategy for you to get and leverage earned media And then you utilize paid media if you so wish to amplify that earned media or to share your owned media. And so one of the things that I like that they put here in their diagram, they actually use a genius model for this, is that when you think about the overlap, because they have this really beautiful diagram, you think about the overlap of owned media and earned media, what they have in there is SEO and brand content drive earned media, right? Sharing and traffic. And so when you think about your website, if you're creating content, or you think about your YouTube channel and you're creating quality content, or you think about your podcast and you're creating quality content, right? And it goes up on a website, and it starts to rank because Google picks up on it. As soon as people start searching and you start ranking for keywords, that's technically earned media, right? And then when people start listening to it and engaging with it, that's shared media, right? Or that's earned media because they share it and it goes out to the world. And so then when you think about your owned media from the other side, right? Because in that owned media, you're utilizing SEO and that brand content, which is going to generate earned media. But then when you have that owned media, you can actually gain more exposure to your SEO by running pay-per-click advertising, right? By running advertisements for keywords and certain things along those lines. And then when you have your earned media up there, right? There's people sharing it and they're mentioning it and people are out there doing it. You can then run paid traffic to that earned media to amplify it. But I keep saying this and sharing all these examples because it's really important that you understand that all of these pieces work together. And none of us are ever going to be experts in all of them, but all of us can be experts in understanding them and knowing what we're really good at and finding support in the other ones, right? So for example, I am really, really, really good at creating owned media and creating content that gets me earned media. I suck at running ads. It's not my strength. I don't like numbers. I don't like data. I don't like analytics. And so I bring in a team or have an employee whose job is to amplify my owned media and earned media to accomplish a goal. And that goal starts with, hey, this is where I want people to go. And we start to play that game. There's other ones of you that are absolutely amazing at data and are absolutely awesome at running advertisement, but you don't like creating content. So then you would have to ask yourself what content it is do we want to create, or what properties do we own that we want to send people to, and then you would outsource or hire somebody to create that thing. And then you would be the person running the ads to spend money to get people to that content that you outsourced. Maybe you're really, really good at earned media, like you're a relationship master. You know people, they'll do everything for you, and you can make owned media. And so you just leverage relationships. You create shareable content left, right. You're a comedian. Everybody's sharing it. But because you live in that world, you're like a quick start. You've got ADD like me. You're like, I want to be on social all the time. You're going to need somebody to support you to always have that one or two places to send people and manage that owned media, and then decide if you're going to have somebody come in and spend money to help amplify all that content that you're getting people to share, and then amplify that content that somebody else is owning to send people to. And so when we think about your audience, when we think about traffic, they all fit into one of those three buckets. It fits into owned media, earned media, and paid media. And that's it. And so your job is to figure out the strategy of which ones you use, which ones you're good at, and which ones you need to outsource to leverage all of those properties together to make sure that when you are out there promoting your content, whether it's your owned content, your earned content, or your paid content, that you're meeting the right people at the right time, and that once you get their attention, they have somewhere to go to become your ideal customer or come into your world. Oh, that was a mouthful. That's a really hard concept for me without drawing, but I can't draw on the podcast. I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear your takeaways on that one. So hit me up on Instagram, send them in. I'm going to wrap this episode. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day. I can't wait to see you in Montana. Go to the website, grab your ticket. There's a couple VIP left, and I know we are at, as the time of recording this, 20 to 25% capacity with the event space that I got. So make sure you go check it out. Go to mindofgeorge.com and then grab your ticket. This has been an episode on owned media, earned media, and paid media, because those are the only places that you can find your customers. And so have an absolutely beautiful day. Remember that relationships will always beat algorithms. Thank you for listening to me from the new office. Got to celebrate with that sound. I will see you in the next episode, or you will hear me in your earballs. Have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon. Now it's time to cue the outro.